the recent assassination of the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, with the Strait of Hormuz once again being at the center of global anxiety.
This is the largest ever war since the Second World War.
We need to go back to the Cold War, when Iran and United States were allies under the rule of Shah.
Russian Federation is a close strategic partner of Iran. It is not going to jump into this war when the United States and United Kingdom plotted a coup to oust the Prime Minister of Iran at that time, Mr. Mohammad Mosaddegh. During the reign of Shah, Israel and Iran used to collaborate.
Do you foresee or predict the return of Reza Pahlavi? Hello and welcome to New Wave History. Today we are joined by Ambassador Sardar Masood Khan, one of Pakistan's most respected and experienced diplomats. He has lately served as the ambassador of Pakistan to the United States from 2022 to 2024. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Thank you so much for joining. Today we are witnessing one of the most dangerous escalations in modern Middle Eastern history. The recent assassination of the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has sparked regional military tensions, Iranian retaliation, and a global concern over a widening war, with the Strait of Hormuz once again being at the center of global anxiety. Let's start with history. To truly understand today's crisis, we need to go back to the Cold War, when Iran and United States were allies under the rule of Shah. That cooperation collapsed with the 1979 Iranian Revolution. So my first question to you is that how did US-Iran relations transition from cooperation under the rule of Shah to outright hostility after the 1979 revolution?
We'll have to go back to history. We'll have to go back to the early 1950s when the United States and United Kingdom plotted a coup to oust the Prime Minister of Iran at that time, Mr. Mohammad Mosaddegh, and then they installed the Shah of Iran, Reza Pahlavi as he was called. So there was this widespread resentment against the United States and United Kingdom embedded into the subconscious of the Iranian people. The Shah had some successes. He made alliances with the United States, United Kingdom, other Western countries. He opposed communism. But at the same time, because of his very despotic policy towards his own people, he became gradually very unpopular. His intelligence agency, SAVAK, was brutal with the people who expressed dissent with his policies or his autocratic rule. And so this anger and resentment grew with the passage of time, which culminated in widespread revolt in 1979. And the Shah was overthrown. If you go back to that period, the Cold War period, Shah was, or the Iran under Shah was a bulwark against the Soviet Union, against communism. And at that time, I think that the Shah of Iran and the many other Arab nations, they were, with the help of the United States, they were on the one front campaigning against communism and kind of impeding its onslaught into the Middle East. And they were also fighting these nationalist leaders or socialist leaders in the Middle East and North Africa. So the relations were very close. This was also resented by the Iranian people. Iranian people had very bad memories of the Second World War because during that time, the United Kingdom occupied Iran, and Iran had become a colony of the United Kingdom practically. So when this revolution, the Islamic Revolution, took place in 1979, there was another leader who died, as a matter of fact, before the revolution. His name was Ali Shariati, and he had galvanized the people of Iran to rise against this reign of terror. And so the result was that both the Shah and the United States were very unpopular when the Iranian Revolution led by Ayatollah Khamenei succeeded. So once the revolution succeeded, all the metrics or all the dynamics changed. The United States saw as Iran as a strategic enemy, and the Iranian leadership, they saw that the United States was there to a new imperial power to
Exactly.
suppress these Iran and other countries in the neighborhood. Particularly, they thought that the Gulf countries that were there, they were kind of an encirclement around Iran. And immediately after the revolution, Iranians started calling for, or the Iranian doctrinal leaders, they started calling for export of revolution and liberation of the entire Middle Eastern region from American influence. So that hardened the strategic enmity between the United States and Iran.
Exactly, exactly. Right on point. Thank you so much for this insight. My next question to you is that if we talk about Israel in this dynamic, why did Israel begin to view post-revolutionary Iran as a strategic and existential threat 1980s onwards?
Well, during the reign of Shah, Israel and Iran used to collaborate as I said, to um, strive against the machinations or the past struggles of the nationalist leaders in the region. And therefore, they did not want communism in the region. They did not want this rise of Arab nationalism, for instance, in Syria or Iraq or Egypt. So they collaborated during the Shah's period, but after the rise of the clergy or the clergy ruled government in Iran, this collaboration collapsed. And this was the first irritant. You must remember that even the Shah, during his period, I mean, in the 1970s, he used to, from time to time, talk against Israel. He used to talk about complain about Israel having acquired a nuclear weapon or nuclear capability. So, I mean, although they had good relations and they were both friends of the United States and there were manageable relations between the two countries, but they were not adversaries. But this dynamic changed drastically after the Iranian Revolution of 1979. And what you saw was a wide gulf between them with different ideological, strategic, and political orientations. Um, Now, the kind of enmity or hostility that was there that became more obvious when Iran started working on its nuclear weapon program, or not nuclear weapon program, because Iran says that it would never opt for nuclear weaponization of its civilian enrichment program,
Yeah.
civilian uranium enriched program. But you see, what happened that after that, Iran needed, because Iran was attacked by Iraq with the backing of the United States and Western countries. So, in order to defend itself, it created another flank in the region. Uh, this flank was Hezbollah. Also, it had presence in the, particularly after the 2003 attack by the United States of Iraq. It created some militias within Iraq. Also, it had established its presence in Syria. So this was seen as a threat by Israel, because they thought that these groups that I'm talking about. They had rockets, and it was suspected that these militias were being supplied these rockets or this technology by Iran, and this was kind of Iran's outer rampart to defend itself. This became a big cause of enmity between Israel and Iran. Then, of course, Israel and both Israel and the United States of America, they were uncomfortable with unbridled development of Iran's missile program. And the final straw, so to say, was the advanced enrichment of uranium by Iran, which was, of course, curbed by the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Program of Action, Plan of Action.
We'll come to JCPOA later. First, let me know that you talked about communism and Iranian revolution and Iranian ideology. This leads me to a question that why did the conflict evolve from being primarily ideological to a broader geostrategic struggle over nuclear capability, regional dominance, and deterrence? What were the main factors that contributed to this transition?
There are lots of things. Oil. I mean, you know that the bulk of the oil, 20% of the oil, is supplied to the rest of the world markets from the Gulf. And when the Iranians were talking about exporting revolution to the Gulf countries or dismantling their monarchies and kind of revolutionizing the people, this unsettled the status quo leaders in the Gulf and also in the United States of America, because they didn't want to imperil their interests in the region. And Israel defined Iran's system, or this clerical system, as an existential threat, especially on 3 counts. And they said that they directly impinged on Israel's security. One was suspected weaponization of their nuclear program. Second was missile industry, which was galloping ahead with immense speed. And third was these regional militias that I have talked about. So these are the dynamics, and there's a thin line between ideology and geostrategic interests. So although, I mean, you do not have those ideological fault lines that were there during the Cold War, but the other ingredients of enmity, adversarial relationship between Israel and Iran are there. One other factor that I would like to add, that Iran has very loudly, very resolutely, very consistently supported the right to self-determination of the people of Palestine. And it has helped Hamas, and it has been raising this voice. It has its leaders from time to time have rejected the idea of the state of Israel. And they think that the state of Israel, Israel's presence is illegitimate and illegal, and that it should be, and it could be dismantled. So I think that this hardened strategic enmity between Israel and the theocracy in Iran.
Okay, well, fast forward to now JCPOA, Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. The 2015 JCPOA nuclear deal temporarily limited Iran's nuclear activities, and the US also lifted sanctions. And there was peace for a while. But once the United States withdrew in 2018, Iran again expanded its uranium enrichment. In the light of current US-Israel conflict with Iran, how did the end of the JCPOA contribute to the conditions that made this escalation possible today, or added like a fuel to this conflict? Did it?
Yes, it's a very complex question. It did contribute to the escalation, but back then in 2018, when President Trump withdrew from JCPOA, what he said was that this was not a comprehensive agreement, that it was tiered and layered, and it gave enormous leeway to Iran to enrich its uranium, and that there was a sunset clause. As a matter of fact, I mean, because this was for 10 to 15 years, and this was not an agreement for all times to come. And there was also domestic politics, because at that time, President Trump took this decision, many experts believe, because he didn't want to own fully an agreement that was brokered by his predecessor, President Barack Obama. So this was a dynamic too. But They also this led to two things. One was, you know, inspection. They were also, I mean, and President Trump did not respect these inspection limits or the kind of leeway that was given to Iran for enrichment. And they still suspected, I mean, the United States suspected, and this United States suspicions were reinforced by intelligence provided by uh, Israel that Iran was in fact enriching uranium, and it would be in a position to enrich uranium up to 90% and turn all its enrichment into nuclear weapons or weapon grade material. So I think this was the net result, although the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, has been saying, it's on record having said that Iran's program, as declared by Iran, was peaceful and that it had not moved towards weaponization of its nuclear program.
Okay, so just touching the history a little bit more and connecting it to the current situation, well, the world knows that the tensions between the US and Iran have oscillated in the past few decades. Meanwhile, Iran also deepened, as you also told earlier, that Iran deepened its reliance on allied non-state actors. How have Iran's proxy networks evolved over the decades, and do these alliances are making the de-escalation today even difficult than before?
Well, I think that the capabilities of these militias, which was a security perimeter for Iran, an outer security perimeter for Iran, has been degraded massively because of a series of attacks that were launched by Israel. So it's not as strong as it was before October 7. And, Iran had presence in Syria, but Syria, the civil war has ended, and Bashar al-Assad, he's left Syria. So in Iraq, in Syria, and in Lebanon, I would say that the strength of these militias has been weakened massively, and they do not have the kind of muscle that they used to have. Similarly, Hamas has been weakened. It has been, as you said, that it has been, in a manner of speaking, obliterated. It doesn't have that kind of firepower that it had before October the 7th, 2023. And Houthis' strength has also been hit hard. And so altogether, I think that all these things have contributed to the escalation that we see.
You said that these militias have already been weakened and they cannot contribute in any way to the de-escalation.
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, they are not a credible or adequate deterrent.
So now, for the first time in decades, we have moved beyond proxy battlegrounds into the direct military action or confrontation against the Iranian territory. For example, the target killing of the senior leadership and the assassination of Ayatollah Ruhollah Ali Khamenei. What strategic calculations, you being the ex-ambassador, in your opinion, what strategic calculations and intelligence assessments drove this decision, and what role does the United Nations have to play now?
Well, before I comment on that, I would like to point out that we talked about what Iran has been doing, but Israel also has been very proactive, and it has penetrated deeply into Iran. It sent spies there, and its spy networks have been very active inside Iran, and they could collect information about their leadership, about their missile program and so on. So they have also used their proxies or their intelligence operatives inside Iran or even in the Gulf region, or they also knew what their nuclear scientists were doing. They targeted their nuclear scientists. They also targeted the leader of Pasdaran, which is Revolutionary Guards. So they have been active too. So it has not been a one-way street. I mean, both sides encircled each other. And so this is one thing. Going back to your question, you're basically asking about the agenda of the United States and Israel and how the situation would unfold. The United States has enumerated or identified or highlighted four objectives. One is that Iran would never get a nuclear weapon. Iran says that it was not making one. The second is that if, not if, that all the weapons grade enriched uranium, or not weapons grade, or enriched uranium up to 60% should be, the entire stockpile should be handed over to United States or to a third party, probably International Atomic Energy Agency, or to a third country, but preferably to the United States. Third is that Iran should curtail its missile industry, and Israel has defined what it wants in the form of curtailment of this missile industry. It says that currently the range of an Iranian ballistic missile is 2,000 kilometers. And Israel's demand is that this should be reduced to 350 kilometers so that it cannot reach Tel Aviv or the entire territory of Israel. And the fourth is dismantlement of the regional militias that Iran has patronized over time. So I think these are the conditions, but the war is expanding. I think United States and Israel did not anticipate this kind of reaction from Iran, because Iran has targeted about 15 countries, but mostly the Gulf countries. But it hasn't. It says that it hasn't targeted these countries per se, but the American bases there. So this has affected international markets, oil and gas prices, also.
I'll cut you here. We'll come to this later. What role does United Nations have to play in this current scenario?
The international system, as we knew, the United Nations Security Council, its humanitarian wing, its peacekeeping operations, and the entire paraphernalia is hobbled and crippled because this system, the new international system, was created under the leadership of the United States in the aftermath of the Second World War. But the United States has disowned that system. And it has sided with Israel wholeheartedly, although it is becoming quite controversial within the United States itself, because Democrats are not on board, although Republicans are supporting President Trump in regard to his action or in regard to his unilateral decision to attack Iran without the consent of the US Congress. But all said and done, there's no international system right now in place. United Nations Security Council has met. It will continue to meet. It will continue to express its deep concern, but there's nothing that it can do. So Secretary General's voice is ineffective, completely ineffective. What about the regional diplomacy? I mean, all these Gulf countries have been lobbying with President Trump. They've been, before the start of the war, they've been urging him not to attack Iran because this attack would mean indirectly attack on its allies, its Gulf allies, and their economies would suffer grievously. So, but still, there are these Islamic countries who've been active in the Gaza diplomacy, the 8 countries, Arab and Muslim countries, and amongst them, I think still Pakistan, Indonesia, Turkey, Egypt, and Oman can play a role. But would the United States listen to them, to listen to their solicitations and to their requests? I doubt that, because United States, as it was made clear by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth yesterday, and also by President Trump, that they have specific goals, and they would not stop or halt these operations until these goals have been achieved.
Okay. So talking about the Gulf countries, what are the strategic motivations and risks behind these shifts? Because we all know you already have said this, that Gulf is siding with the United States and Israel. What are their strategic motivations behind? Can you please name a few?
I won't say that the Gulf countries are 100% siding with Israel and the United States, but they have become a war theater themselves. I mean, so although they did not attack Iran, or they did not support Israel or the United States, but since they host the bases, U.S. bases there, they become a legitimate target for Iran. And as I was going to talk to you, as I was preparing to talk to you, I heard, I don't know whether that there's a statement coming out of Tehran disowning or contradicting this claim that the Iranians had hit Saudi oil refinery in Dammam. So, there's this fog of war. These Middle Eastern countries, they do not want their countries, their region to become a battleground, because that would mean enormous damage to their economies, and they want to avoid that at all costs. But there is the speculation, although I think that through the vehicle of Abraham Accords, Israel has penetrated deep into the Gulf region, and it has divided the Gulf also, because Saudi Arabia hasn't joined the Abraham Accords, but UAE has, and UAE and Saudi Arabia have their own differences in regard to Bab al Mandab, or to the southern part of Yemen, or countries like Sudan or Ethiopia or Djibouti or Somaliland and so on. So they have also, I think Israel has pitted these 2 countries against each other. So they do not want to, they want security and they want economic development. And this war doesn't suit them. The shorter this war is, the better it is for them, although they have already incurred heavy losses.
Well, it's a great opinion, because there is generally people are believing out there that Gulf countries are siding with US and Israel directly or indirectly. Well, my next question to you is that we can already see the ripple effects of this escalated situation or conflict. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. What we are seeing the jumps in oil prices as well. How close this conflict is to triggering a large-scale war, and what will be the economic implications be?
Well, this is already a very large-scale war. I think this is the largest scale war after the Second World War, involving so many countries. You know, when you go back to the early 2000s, when the United States attacked Afghanistan or Iraq, it was one country operation, or probably there were multiple country operations later, during the Arab Spring, or operations in Syria. But it was not that in such a short span of time, so many countries were involved in a war, and they had all become a war theater, as the Gulf region and has, and the Middle East, broader Middle East region have become. So there are many countries which are involved, at least as I mentioned, that already 15 to 16 countries are involved in this war. More than 10 countries directly are involved in this war. So this is the largest ever war since the Second World War. Your question is, I mean, a question hidden within your question is whether this could become a third world war. And I would say that at the moment, it doesn't look like that because although Russian Federation is a close strategic partner of Iran, it is not going to jump into this war to side with Iran. They have their own limitations, Ukraine being one of them, and they have other policy constraints. China, it has very close ties with Iran, and it has invested in its economy also using the banner of the Belt and Road Initiative. So that's there, but they are not going to help them militarily. Iran. They have supplied technology which is very helpful for Iran, and so has Russian Federation. They have also supplied technology. But beyond that, would they defend Iran? I don't think so. So there is this possibility or probability, let's call it a probability, that people have been speculating that using this precedent, China may invade Taiwan and take over because it says that it is, and it is, in fact, everybody believes one China policy. Everybody believes in one China policy, and Pakistan also endorses that. And majority of the members of the United Nations, they consider Taiwan to be part of the People's Republic of China. So China, there has been this wide speculation that China would take over, following the American example, it can take over Taiwan, whereas but it has it could lead to many complications. One of them could be that the United States could move its remaining armadas to that region, and then we could have a world war. And
Okay.
the United States and China, both, I think, will rely on rationality and will not take that course. At least that's my opinion and reading at the moment.
Okay, and well, as you said, that even if the prospects of the Third World War are not in sight, there will be huge economic, social, and political implications of this ongoing conflict for the months or years to come.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's a challenge not only for the international community, for all the countries of Europe, Asia, and all the countries, the entire globe, but
True.
particularly for Pakistan, we are facing headwinds, and we will be affected by the fallout of this war. Because we will start feeling the economic crunch immediately because the prices of oil have soared, and because of the shutdown of the Strait of Hormuz, the supply itself would be affected. We used to get some oil from Iran, and that channel would also be choked. So, and then, of course, when the prices of oil go up, other prices go up simultaneously of the day-to-day consumer products. They also experience inflation. So I think that Pakistan, and also strategically, Pakistan is in a very difficult position because we are fighting a war with Afghanistan, India has said that it has halted its aggression against Pakistan, but it hasn't ended the war that it has started last May, in which India was defeated by Pakistan. It wants to wreak vengeance against Pakistan. So I think that we should be more concerned about the repercussions of this war on Pakistan.
Exactly, you're right. Okay, so just quick last two questions. Do you see a change or a shift in Iran's foreign policy after the new leadership takes power?
This is the expectation of the United States of America, and President Trump has ambiguously hinted that in his statements. He thinks that this is a scenario comparable to Uruguay's, where Venezuela's. That they went into Venezuela and then they arrested President Maduro, and the remaining government just complied with what the United States said. President Trump has hinted that a similar scenario could be replayed here in Iran. It doesn't look likely for the moment because the succession of the leadership is already in process. And so this is one thing. Second, I mean, in the immediate future, it's unlikely. The contrary to the expectations of the United States and Israel, they thought that the people of Iran would rise against the regime and the system, but they haven't. So in the immediate future, it looks unlikely, but it would depend on the outcome of the war, because we are in the middle of the war and we do not know what's going to happen next, what would be the conclusion of the war, or whether or not there would be a quick closure of the war. And if it is an extended war, if it is a long haul, then we do not know what would happen. Iran could experience either continued chaos, either stability or continuous chaos, or civil war, or kind of massive resistance to American and Israeli attack. So there are many scenarios and many variables. Right now, there are no constants because of the fluid situation that has emerged as a result of American-Israeli attacks.
Okay, so my last question to you is that, in your opinion, do you foresee or predict the return of Reza Pahlavi?
He has been touted by the diaspora community as the leader who would come back. He's been appealing directly to the people of Iran to rise against the Iranian clergy and the system that they have. And President Trump has appealed to them. And Reza Pahlavi is the name that has been frequently mentioned. It would be a replay of the 1953 coup, or the American and United Kingdom led coup. But and he will not have acceptability, wide or popular acceptability, because people still remember the kind of reign of terror that was unleashed by the Shah, Reza Shah, his father, during his rule. So I think that if the Iranian system collapses, he might come back. But I don't know whether he would be accepted as a leader, or maybe a transitional figure. And there could be another system. Now, this is, let me point out here, that people are thinking of a very smooth transition, probably, that there's this, if we were talking hypothetically, this regime or the system may survive this onslaught or this attack from the United States and Israel. But if they don't survive, it won't be a clean transition from one system to the other system, because revolutions are, or this kind of uprising is always unpredictable. It could go anyway. I mean, it could lead to a civil war, because all those people, Pasdaran or other people, they could continue to resist even if there is a new system in place. Or Israel's playbook is to not only attack countries from within and mobilize forces from within, but also create conditions for civil strife and internecine conflicts that last for decades, as you have seen in Syria and Iraq and Libya and other parts of the world, and other parts of the Middle East and North Africa. So these are many likely scenarios, but one can't predict with certainty what would happen in the near future.
So thank you so much, sir, for your insights, and thank you so much for recalling the history with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, and I hope the audience will learn from this great debate. Until next time, Khuda Hafiz.